Hi, True Crime fans. It's me, Patti Lee, here at the True Crime Grapevine. We are doing episode 13, or Flight 13. We have had wine pairings with each case here on the Grapevine. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you have any suggestions for pairings with any of the case or with our last case that we're going to talk about here, our celebrity case, Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard. I have some bubbly, and it's really sweet bubbly because I think Johnny Depp is really sweet. Moscato Spumante. Now, so why do I say Johnny Depp is really sweet? I'm going to try to pour this without going over the top. Well, if you've watched my True Crime Grapevine before, you might have heard that I call myself the dyslexic armchair detective because I have some slight dyslexia, which also has to do with why I'm familiar with Buffalo, because there is a school for dyslexia near Buffalo, New York. And I wish I would have attended it, but our son did. And Johnny Depp, I think, has we've heard about ADHD, but I believe he's also dyslexic, and I think that explains his language processing, which is a little bit different. People make fun of how he speaks, and his choice of like his vocabulary. And the thing with people with dyslexia, you can also have a very high Q. Dyslexia is just a language processing disorder or difference in the brain. It's actually just a big difference that manifests problems since people started to do abstract things with language, like reading and writing. It doesn't affect reasoning all the time with every dyslexic person. And I think Johnny Depp is a very good example of somebody who I don't know if he had problems with the language of math, which we call dyscalculia, or if he had any traditional language problems like with speech, or lots of times it's with decoding reading, right? Or like in my case, math and some, like I have written expression issues. Like I kind of write like I talk, maybe a little bit boop boop in circles. I'm not sure exactly about every particular thing of his background, but when he speaks slowly, and he does kind of talk in a narrative circular form, using lots of analogies, and lots of times dyslexic people will use a large word that maybe isn't that typical because they can't remember the regular word, and so they come off sounding like I'm erudite more than the average person. Yeah, look up erudite, which Johnny does sound erudite in my personal opinion. So that is why I think he speaks more deliberately, slowly, why he takes time and gives a rather very visual example, like an analogy of what he's saying. Okay, so again, it's a celebrity case. He's sweet. I think he's honest as well, and I am drinking to him. Amber Heard this past week. So this past week was dark, meaning that the judge was on. She had to go get continuing ed, like every profession has to, and apparently in the state of Virginia, all the judges are required to attend a conference that was scheduled. It couldn't be held. During that week, it seems like, so Amber had fired her other PR team and hired a new one right before last Thursday. And over the weekend, there was this barrage of like things in newspapers where I think you can buy to, give them money to put in things, or you have, maybe the PR people have relationships. I'm not sure exactly how that works, but it was ridiculous and wrong. I mean, it was like, people think Amber's right. People are on Amber's side. People are confused why Johnny Depp is so bad. And I was like, no. So, again, the True Crime Grapevine is to tell you what everybody's saying on the interwebs. And I, in the past dark week of court, all the commentary has been like voluminous, so much. And it comes from 3 different sources. You have your lawyers, especially trial lawyers, you have psychologists, and you have behavior analysis people. All 3 very interesting. All 3 professionals from different fields who aren't talking to one another came up with about the same general feeling so far how court has been going. So before court went dark, and I think I spoke about it last week, there was lots of, it looked like, in my opinion, theatrics on Ms. Heard's part. Lots of it looked like at one point she tried to make herself cry. At another point, after she got her new PR team, she was like posing and held it with a tissue for the camera. I mean, it seemed staged and appeared to me and many of my sources as not genuine. And all the talk has been about how disingenuous she appeared. Now, so far today, it's running right out of the corner of my side. I'll just tell you, they said she has a Kim Jong-un outfit. I don't know why she's dressing so weird each time. I don't get. I don't know if that's her thing and she's not listening to other people's advice, but it makes her look like a crazy person. And she changed her story. So today, the testimony from, like, she's trying to back up the testimony from over a week ago, saying, oh, what I meant by that was, and oh, my dates were wrong. And look, again, digging herself a hole, admitting that it seems like she's putting into testimony that she lied the week before. Now, all the commentators are basically saying it appears as if they're introducing some of this stuff to get ahead because they know what's going to come out on rebuttal. And it's supposed to be brutal. And I am almost not going to, I don't know if I can watch it in real time because I think she's going to freak out. I don't know what she's going to do. But she's told a lot of things that I can't say they're lies, but I would say with everything admitted into evidence so far, especially her testimony and then all the testimony of the experts, it doesn't align. Like somebody's lying. So do we believe all the therapists and everybody else around her was lying and that she's the only one who remembers things accurately? It's not clear. And I'll just say this. As a woman who has experienced things in her life and as a woman who has read what's going on in all the interwebs discussions, there are a lot of people who have experienced either domestic violence, interpersonal violence, whatever you want to call it, and they were putting up their pictures. And let me just tell you, it's not just like a little mark on your lip or a little scrape under an eye. There's big swollen marks, and we all heard, or if you haven't heard yet, go watch. So the testimony and the description by Amber Heard herself was insane. And that's what everybody was talking about last week. They were breaking down, okay, if everything she said was accurate, it breaks the laws of physics, for one thing. Like, how does someone throw you around a room and somehow they get thrown with you? So did they throw themselves? And there's like positions that don't seem accurate. And so this comes to, so the psychologists and the behavior analysts were very interesting, especially the psychologists, because they were talking about when you are being deceptive, you may, if you're talking from like you're the camera and you're seeing a scene, that's not really how people talk. When people talk about what happened to them, they are talking about themselves from their point of view. They're not describing the scene. The people who did behavior analysis, 100%, all of them thought it was deceptive. And I was especially surprised because please go to the behavior panel on YouTube. They did part 1 and part 2, but part 2 especially is elucidating of exactly what's wrong with the mismatch between what Ms. Heard is saying and then what she's doing with her face and body. High indicators of deception, and these people are people who train military people to do interrogations, who train G7 leaders about how to appear, like how to appear truthful. I mean, they know every little aspect of what people look like when they're insecure, what people look like when they're lying, deceptive, what people look like when they're authentically upset. And there's different muscle movements. The behavior panel, very big, one of my main squeezes that I watch, because I really trust them. They don't really often say 100% anything. There is another behavior guy, and I believe he's called the behavior guy. His name is Jesus. I can't say his whole name real fast like he says it. He is behavior analysis. He is live streaming as well as looking at past depositions of Ms. Heard. I love his commentary, and he slows things down and looks at it and will show you very specifically what to look for, and it is accurate, in my opinion. The psychologists, let me back that up first again, because I found one of the psychologists from the legal people. So there is Emily D. Baker, who I shout out, I believe, every week. And Emily D. Baker recommended Legal Bites, which was, and I'm not going to say her name right, I'm sorry, I think it's Alita, on Legal Bites. But if you look for Legal Bites on Twitter and on YouTube, and they were having lives together and included some psychologists. There was Courtney Taylor, I believe, but that's her name, Dr. Courtney Taylor, who she admittedly says she has borderline personality, but has received treatment. And I don't know if that's specifically who she treats, but she discussed recognizing that right away in the filming and the depositions and the trial. And he's the psychologist, I think it's called the Seattle psychologist or Seattle psychology. And Dr. Hunda, he is and Todd Grande. They're both, Dr. Hunda and Dr. Grande, are so trying to be balanced, and they do give you both sides. What's very interesting to me is Dr. Grande, YouTube. He answers questions from people. So he's been doing this for years, and he says, the question I'm going to answer is, and then he discusses it. So one of them was, what is a borderline personality wife? And this was 2 or 3 years ago. So it wasn't in response to anything going on. So he wasn't, you couldn't say he was biased because he likes Johnny Depp or not. And I think he has done stuff on this thing more recently. But I am saying this was way before. And what he described after listening to Johnny Depp and the Dr. Curry's findings and listening to Amber Heard herself on recordings, it was like he was describing her. Somebody who doesn't want people to walk away, somebody who needs to be in physical proximity even when they're angry, somebody who will chase somebody in an argument, who can't stand to be physically away from them, someone who throws things. I'm like, oh my gosh, he is describing Amber Heard, only he's just describing what somebody wanted to know from a question from a viewer. So very interesting. I would go listen to that because it matches up, and this was 2 years ago, so he wasn't talking about her. Dr. Hyunde, it's Hounde, I believe, and he's done lives with Alita. He's been on Legal Bites as a guest, and but his own channel, and I think it's called Seattle Psychology or Psychologist. He is very good about, he tries to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. He is so overly fair, and his commentary even says, he's like, oh, That's not good. If that's right. I mean, giving every benefit of the doubt to both sides. Now, I wouldn't say he came right out and said Amber Heard's a liar and Johnny Depp should win. No, it's not that clear on especially the psychologist part. The psychologist people tend to be, to me, the people who are being most like still very taking, I mean, because this accusations of domestic violence or interpersonal violence is serious. The thing is, men really aren't talked about, and on the tapes, and these will probably be entered into, I'm sure they will, enter into evidence this week on cross-examination. Amber Heard is heard verbally dressing down Johnny Depp and says, like, who's going to believe you? Go ahead, Johnny. Tell the world. Like, poor little me hit big old you a man. And she basically gives away the whole game right there. Anyway, I would listen to the psychologists because they give both sides and are very fair. They don't really take a side. The behavior analyst people, when we're just talking deception or not, do take sides. I mean, they do give you a full, sorry, not that they take a side, but they do make a conclusion based on evidence that is more definitive, I would say. And that is the behavior panel and the behavior guy. Oh, there's a guy, Observe, too, who I really like. He wears this flowered shirt, I think, every time. I don't know. I really like him. He's got a great sense of humor. He's done a few things on this case. Everybody kind of has, because regardless of true crime or not, everybody wants to hear about Johnny Depp. But in a court case, if you really want to understand the legalities of what's going on in a civil defamation case, Legal Bites with Alita and Emily D. Baker. She did another defamation case, the Cardi B case. It's very interesting. She breaks it down legally as to not like what do you think happened, or she talks about morality versus legality. Got that from you, Emily. Her fans are called, she calls them the law nerds, and she and Alita, and there's a number of other associated legal accounts. They call themselves LawTube, like YouTube, but LawTube. So there's LawTube and there's Psychology Tube, I guess. The preponderance of the evidence seems to indicate deception on Ms. Heard's part, but you listen, you look. I just don't think, I think most women, and the behavior panel said this, that women would, I mean, and he said women are more intuitive, and I don't know if they really are, but he put into words my feeling was like, he said women will see this right away, even if you're not a behavior analyst. There's something off about her expressions. They flit from thing to thing. Her facial expressions, it's not a typical show of emotions, like so fast to be flipping back and forth through these different emotions. And that's what I called, I believe, if you listened to me last week, if it didn't get cut off from the desynchronization, but I called it being like, it's like a replicant behavior. Like it looks like somebody trying to be human. I don't know. The whole story, though, of her life, the stuff that does come out, I don't know, I think, I feel sorry for her, because she really does seem to need attention, and she does seem to have this habit of, like, getting these, I don't know, it's such, unfortunately, it's a trope of, like, the woman who draws in the men through acting a certain way, and really she's got ulterior motives. But I don't know, the gold digger is a gold digger is a gold digger, and I mean, you would think rich older men would be aware of it, but everybody wants a young beautiful woman, it seems like. So it's all part of that problem. This is my opinion, obviously. So I think Johnny Depp should date women closer to his own age. Sorry, Johnny, I just think you might. Or, you know, or maybe use a matchmaker or something. at least Johnny Depp seems to be wanting to get better, and he admits fully to his foibles, that's what reads as honesty. Was I on drugs? Yes. Did I drink? Yes. But his whole way of being is more introverted. When there was conflict, he ran away, and that's on all the tapes and people's stories. And the dark week allowed everybody to talk about everything, and it really seems like Amber's story of being SA'd makes no sense because her injuries would be way worse. And I think it was her assistant came out and was like, that was my story. She stole my story of being SA'd. What? What kind of person does that? That verges on, to me, like a sociopath, like somebody who can or a psychopath, somebody who could just take the worst thing that happened to a friend of theirs, acquaintance, and whatever. Also, I believe that's the same assistant, Kate, who was the second person that Johnny Depp's team called, who was her personal assistant. The problem with the dogs going into Australia, and Amber Heard, put in a deposition, blamed the assistant. And it's in text messages to another person involved and her lawyer trying to get out of the problems in Australia because she brought in animals that she wasn't supposed to. And the assistant, somebody else said no, like they had told her, no, we can't get the dogs shots in time. You can't do it. She did it anyways because she seems not to think the rules apply to her. That's my opinion. Anyway, she gets in trouble. So in this court case with the Australian government, and she went to court about it, she claimed it was her assistant's fault. She didn't know. Wasn't me, right? Then she went home. She got another dog and named it after one of the prosecuting people. Who does that, right? Who, like as a joke, like as a ha ha ha? Isn't this funny? And she also, the thing was, she made jokes about, I guess I can't break good habits, and has social media things of her taking her dogs, her little Yorkies, the ones that did the grumpy on the bed, she said, although it wasn't the size of a Yorkie's. Anyway, Australia is now looking into her perjuring herself, because that was in a court case, that she lied and blamed another person, and that person, her assistant, it wasn't that person's fault. And so that actually might get her, I don't know, it's like the maximum sentence was 10 years. None of this would happen if she would, A, have been honest, B, like just paid a fine, C, she wouldn't have like poked at the guy, making fun of Australia and their laws. And then, of course, the lying. So, allegedly, this is all allegedly, don't sue me, it's just my opinion, just speculation on what's on the interwebs. So, that Australian investigation case is something to watch. So, you can be very poorly behaved as a rich, white, privileged person who's got some celebrity, as Ms. Heard is. But you know that phrase about be careful when you're climbing the ladder up, because you're going to see the people that you step on to get up, because you're going to see them on the way down. That seems to be a motto that maybe Ms. Heard should have focused on. So, as of right now, she is still on the stand. I believe she's still on direct. I'm not sure if they started cross yet. She is still dressed very strangely in some weird, somebody called it, it's not pilgrim-like, it's like a big weird gray suit. It looks like Kim Jong-un's outfit. I don't know why he dressed like a dictator. Very strange. Alita on Legal Bites has a very small little mini, I don't know if it's a quick bit, but about talking about dressing in court and what messages that sends. Like it does say things to the jury. And I don't know what she's saying. So, in episode, so this is still May 16th, in episode 14, I will let you know. what has happened the next week. And until then, like, subscribe, please. Put any comments down. I will see you. Our next flight will be next week, episode 14. Thanks for watching. Bye.